Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, channel likes try anything, so you don't have to. In today's video, what we're going to take a look at, another watch from the Casio range, with this being more of a sportier variant, and that being the Casio W-1000H. Now this watch has a module number of 3468, and I have linked below to the instructions of this watch, which will take you off to the Casio website so you can understand a lot more about how to use this watch. And also I will be releasing a tutorial video about this watch coming soon, which will go more in depth about the actual watch and how to use the functions, set the time and stuff like that. So in this video what we'll do, we'll talk about the actual materials used and the actual design of the watch. We'll talk about the sizes, and we'll gloss over the functions because, as I say, it'll be mentioned more in the tutorial part of this watch. And then what we will do is pop it on our wrist and say what it's like to wear. Straight off from the bat, this watch is available in a lot more different colors. You can get like greens and silvers and stuff like that, so there is always a kind of a watch for everyone. So to kick things off, this watch is composed of a resin plastic for the actual case of the watch here, and the pushers that are featured, which there are three around featuring around the actual diameter of the case, as well as the two down here, are a plastic resin as well. And interestingly, this one does have, I mean, I would imagine it's for the actual symmetry of the look of the watch. It is a blank pusher as well, so it hasn't got 4 and a 2, it's definitely just 3 and a 2 here. But it just, and what you do have as well going around the actual plastic bezel featured here, you do have some very nice decals here, which just add to that kind of sporty kind of stopwatch look that this watch has. Because as I say, or if I haven't mentioned, this watch is more, I would say it's more aimed towards people who enjoy running and sports, more sporty people really, because there's a lot more features to this watch. Now, as I say, you are looking at a resin case to this watch, and it does measure a size of 42.8 in terms of diameter. From top to bottom, or what would be known as lug to lug, you are looking at a size of 45.5, and case thickness you are looking at 12.8 millimeters, and the actual protrusions do measure 13.2. So it's not actually a bulky watch in any form of the imagination. So you know, this watch will, as it were, appeal to a lot more people than say something which is quite bulky like this watch here. Now in terms of weight, you are looking at about 38 grams. Now this will be 38 grams with the actual Casio standard band that you would get with this watch, and not the band that I'm featuring here. Now the actual dial window is made up of what would be an acrylic glass. Now just bear in mind, acrylic glass, obviously it's more prone to, or more susceptible to, scratches and micro abrasions. And just quickly give you an example, I've got what I've got here, which is a W735. This one again was another eBay purchase, and as you can see there is quite a few scratches and stuff like that on this watch, but this is probably the worst watch I have had from eBay, and this one is exceptional in terms of the quality and what I have received from the actual seller. So you know, some watches it just depends, and you just have to keep your eye on it. But obviously if you get this brand new, you will get a very nice looking watch. Now on the back you are looking at a stainless steel back, and this watch does also feature, as mentioned on the case back, a 10 bar water resistance, or what would be 100 meters. And on the case you do have the usual kind of screws that Casio does feature on a lot of their watches, which allow for you to open up that watch with ease and change over the battery, in which this watch has a 10-year battery from new, which is based on a CR2025 from what it's saying on the Casio website. So you've got a fair amount of longevity, depending on, you know, obviously the functions and if you use the light and stuff like that. Now going on to the actual dial, this watch does feature a very easy to read dial, and that's the one thing that struck me about this watch when taking it out of the packaging that I received from the seller on eBay, is that it just stands out. I mean, God, it stands out, just not so much for it's like what's featured on the actual display, but it's just how easy it is to read. There's nothing kind of obscuring or no kind of design work going around the actual information that is featured on this watch. It is just a display which features, in this instance being the timekeeping mode, obviously you got the date and the time underneath, and obviously there will be any kind of mentions of if you've got alarms active or anything like that. And you do have a very nice graphic display which mentions kind of like you can see going up with the seconds and stuff like that really. Now, the other thing to mention is that this watch does have a LED backlight, and it is a single amber LED backlight, which you can see just being shown here to the left. And also, I am just quickly showing you what it is like in semi-darkness. Now, this watch does feature a amber backlight which has a delay of 1.5 seconds, and also you can set it up for a 3-second delay. So you just press the button, and obviously it'll stay on for 1.5 or 3 seconds, and it is very easy to set up. As well as the light mentioned here, you also get a lot more functions with this watch. Now, this watch does feature 12 and 24 hour, which is easily accessible by just pressing that start stop button at the bottom. And also you will notice that as I'm pressing the buttons, you will hear that like audible beep. Now, that can be easily turned off. I'll just quickly show you, because I do get some people who ask me about that. You can mute this watch by just keeping your finger on the mode button, and you will see there's a little musical note which has been crossed out. That means the actual beep is off. But I will show more of this watch when I do the tutorial, but I do get asked about how to mute some of these watches, and that's how you do it on this watch. So turn it back on so it beeps, and there you go. And as you can see, cycling through the functions, there is a lot more to this watch than meets the eye. Now, this watch also features daylight saving time, which I've set it up for here, which can be turned on and off through the adjust button, and also or the adjust function as it were. You just got to cycle through to it. And also it features an auto calendar. So once you've set the calendar, it is kind of a fire and forget affair really, in which it'll always display the current date, it taking into account leap years and stuff like that. And that is up to 2099, where you don't have to mess about with the calendar. So as we're mentioning the functions, what we'll just start to do is just talk about the actual stopwatch, because as I say, this watch is more set up for people who are into sports and who are sporty people who want to measure performance in terms of time and stuff like that. And obviously it doesn't have the capabilities of what would be a smartwatch, but it does have ease of use in terms of measuring, you know, how well you're doing in terms of elapsed time and runs or countdowns, if you were doing high intensity training and stuff like that. So this stopwatch will feature hundredth of a second measurement. It has lap times which will be measured in 100th of a second up to 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and then it goes up to 1 second measurement when it can measure up to 100 hours, and that's where it will do the 1 second measurement in up to that time. Now, split time measurements can be done 100th of a second in terms of measuring split up to 10 hours, and then it will measure split times in a second up to 100 hours. Now, just to quickly show you can do like obviously lap and split time measurements, and as soon as you press the lap time, it will give you a quick measurement of the actual lap time you have done a lap in, say. But what you will do, it will record that within the actual lap memory, in which this does have an allowance up to 60 separate lap times. So if I press stop and then just reset that, and you will notice that the F number, which indicates how many lap times you have available to store within that memory, it will go down as you use it. But when I click on the next mode, it will show the actual recall, in which you can go through the lap times you have measured. As you can see, lap time 1, lap time 2, and it does allow it will record the dates in which you are measuring them lap times on. So if you are doing a run as such and you want to see how you're doing throughout the days and throughout the weeks, then this watch may help you in increasing or bettering your performance. But you know, obviously that's the caveat is, you know, that depends on you, not so much this watch. So the next function to talk about that this watch features is this watch features a countdown timer, and the actual countdown timer alarm, as it were, because obviously it will sound an alarm when it reaches 0, is that it will count down from 24 hours, as you can see illustrated here. But also what you can do, and it will do that in increments of a second, as it were, you can set it up for your own time, for example. So if I stop that and reset it, you can say, for example, set it for, I don't know, set it for 5 minutes, in which you can up and down using these two buttons here. And what it will allow you to do is what a function known as you can see it says off here, is auto repeat. And what auto repeat means is that once the actual, say for example in this instance you were doing high intensity training and you're training for 5 minutes on, you know, in terms of weights and stuff like that, or movement, and then 5 minutes kind of recuperation, and then another 5 minutes etc doing the exercise, and then 5 minutes relaxing and stuff like that, this watch will support it. So for example, as long as that icon's on, you can set it so every time you set, as it were, the countdown timer, it will reset and start again, and then count down in the time that you've set it for, and then it will beep again and then count down again from the time you've set it for. So it's a great function if you are doing high intensity training or anything that has a need for, as it were, a countdown timer, and a countdown timer that will repeat itself. So it is a great little function if you are into that sort of thing and in terms of high intensity training. So if I just stop it there and just reset it and just show you the next function. Now this watch will feature a whole host of alarms that you can set. Now it does feature three multi-function alarms, and as you can see there, they're set for different times. And also the actual alarms it does function is that it does have a daily alarm. So once you've set it, as it were, what's set here, it will go off on the at this time every day. It features a day alarm where you can set the month, day, hour, minutes, etc., and the alarm will sound at that precise time. It features a 1 month alarm, so you can set it for a day and a time that this alarm will go off every, as it were, on that day at that time for 1 month. And then it features a monthly alarm where the alarm will sound the same day and time every month. And then finally, I'm sorry if it's gone on a little, it also features an hourly time signal, which will mean it will go off or it will beep on the hour every hour. Now the next function is dual time. Now what dual time will allow is kind of a dual display of the current time in two different time zones, as it were, and you can set it up quite easily by just pressing the adjust button, and it will go through the hours and minutes. And it does take into account also you can set it with daylight saving time on or off. So another fully featured aspect to this watch. And that's it really. I mean, when I say that's it, there's a lot more to this watch, and I will show it on the actual tutorial of this watch, how to use a lot of the functions of this watch. But it is for the price point, which I think is around the £30, maybe £35-ish mark. There is a lot that you can do with this watch, and especially if you are into sports and stuff like that, then this watch can help in terms of recording times and, you know, allowing you to see how well you do in terms of runs and high intensity training and stuff like that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop it on my wrist and see what it's like to wear. Now on the wrist, I've got to say it is a nice watch. Now please discount this band because the strap, it isn't the standard strap, but in terms of how it looks on the wrist, it is it's got a very nice sporty watch. And you know, as I said, you can choose different colors that this watch can come in. So if you want something that's a little bit louder and a little bit more, you know, like colourful, you can go for, I believe it comes in a green and stuff like that, or silvers or blues and stuff like that. So, you know, there is a watch to suit your taste really. But in terms of how this watch feels, you know, it is quite flat on the wrist. The actual lugs don't poke out too far, but it's the actual look of the watch. It is a very easy watch to glean the time from really, or any kind of functions that you are looking to access in terms of timers and alarms and dual time and stopwatches and stuff like that. It's a very easy watch to use, and obviously you just press these buttons to start the stopwatch and stuff and countdown timer. You know, you can just easily go about your day or go on your run, and this watch will help you with that aspect. And for me, I mean, in terms of inhibiting hand movement, no, you don't get any form of inhibition of, you know, you can't feel it on the wrist because it's not a big watch compared to, say, some of the bulkier watches that I've featured on this channel. But it is a really, really nice watch, and obviously with the display being very easy and simple to understand and simple to read, then I would say this watch should appeal to a lot of people who are looking for something that they can just quickly glance at, get the time, and then just obviously go about their day. And if it is a watch that you are looking to, you know, you want something which makes it easy for you to understand the time or what time of day it is, then I would suggest you maybe look at the CASIO W-1000H. You know, it's a nice quality watch. It feels good on the wrist, except for, you know, obviously, as I said, I can't comment on the band, but in terms of how it sits on the wrist here, it is really nice. And, you know, again, it's quite lightweight as well, so you don't feel that you are wearing it. And, you know, for that aspect, it gets the thumbs up from me, and especially with that display and the amount of functions that this watch features. So I hope you liked the video, and if you did, then please click on the like button. It always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos coming from the We Try Anything channel, then click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.